Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everyone. How is everyone today? Great. Okay, thank you. Great is that word. If you can, please, we want to make sure so everyone can see. You're going to sit nice and flat. Please make sure you take off your hats, take your hoods down. Helps everyone behind to be able to see. I know we're going, as always, to be a great audience, and just as a reminder, we are recording and live, so we want to just make sure we're being great listeners and limiting our conversations. So we are very, very fortunate and very excited today to have a presentation and a guest speaker. Dr. Kerry Magro is here to visit us, and he is an award-winning professional speaker. He is a best-selling author and an advocate for the disabled community. He travels across the country speaking with businesses, professional and parent groups, school assemblies, nonprofits, and autism conferences. He also serves as a consultant for many films and television productions featuring disabled categories, including the show on Netflix, Love on the Spectrum. He is here with us today through a very generous grant from NFAR. NFAR is the National Foundation for Autism Research, and he is part of our Inclusion in Action Week, and he is our district speaker. And before I introduce Dr. Kerry Magro, we're going to start with a video.
Our next guest is an accomplished public speaker and activist who has devoted his life to helping others. Not bad for a guy who was completely nonverbal for the first few years of his life. But once Kerry Magro found his voice, he had a lot to say.
Dr. Kerry Magro is an award-winning professional speaker, best-selling author, and one of the leading advocates for the autism community. He has written 5 books, all of which have reached Amazon's bestseller list, and earned his doctorate in educational technology leadership. Over the past decade, Kerry has dedicated his career to empowering individuals with disabilities, promoting inclusion, and sharing his personal journey from non-speaking autism to becoming a full-time speaker. For his efforts, he's been featured in major media outlets such as The Today Show, CBS News, and The New York Times. In addition to his speaking work, Kerry is the CEO and president of his nonprofit, where he has provided scholarships to autistic students for college. He also started a grant program to help provide financial resources for special education teachers, aides, and therapists to support their classrooms. Kerry has collaborated with global businesses like Google, BlackRock, and American Express to highlight the ROI benefits of autism and neurodiversity in the workplace. He has also partnered with schools, nonprofits, and parent organizations, spreading the message of inclusion far and wide. Beyond his work as a speaker, Kerry, who grew up with a love of theater, has served as an autism entertainment consultant for both TV and film projects to bring a realistic portrayal of autism to the screen. He was the autism consultant for the film The Present, starring Greg Kinnear, and even received a credit in Ezra, starring Robert De Niro. He's also contributed his expertise as a consultant for Netflix's 5-time Emmy award-winning series Love on the Spectrum US. And now, without further ado, Dr. Kerry Magro.
How's everyone doing today? Thank you guys so much for having me here today, and I am so appreciative to have this platform to discuss a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, because when I was growing up, I didn't speak. I actually didn't start speaking complete sentences till I was 7 because of this thing called autism. And just by a show of hands, really quickly today, how many of you guys have heard of this word called autism in the past? How many of you guys have a family member who might have autism also? The reason why I bring this up is because right now in our community, when I was diagnosed with autism, 1 in 1,000 people were diagnosed with this thing called autism. And today, 1 in 36 people have autism. And actually, in California, autism is the highest prevalence in the entire country. So understanding this, supporting people with autism and educating yourself a little bit about autism can make a world of difference, especially for your classmates, but also for those people who just raised their hand and said they have a family member who might be impacted by autism as well. Because guys, there's still so many misconceptions around autism and other disabilities in our community, and some kids get bullied because of that, which we'll talk a little bit about in this presentation. So a challenge I have for you guys is that understanding this. Autistic and disabled students often have to navigate a world that wasn't built with them in mind. So if you see one of your classmates struggling, ask, How can I help? Because small questions make big differences. And some brains get overloaded by noise, bright lights, or sign changes because of having autism. That doesn't mean someone is being bad. It means they might need a different tool to do their best. So if you notice a classmate looking overwhelmed or pulling back, be a friend, because that's honestly something I needed when I was growing up. So growing up with autism, though, after I started talking, you couldn't get me to stop talking. Today, I have this really cool job as a full-time autistic professional speaker, getting the opportunity to travel the globe. I've spoken at over 1,400 events in the past 14 years, getting the opportunity to travel to Australia, Dubai, Egypt, and get to go to some really amazing, cool places to discuss autism inclusion, but most importantly, being kind to others. Because as we were talking to the K through 3 students about, being kind to people with autism and other disabilities isn't being a hero. It's being a decent human being. And we should promote kindness and understanding in all the things that we do in our community today. But being able to overcome a lot of my challenges, I got 15 years of therapy for occupational speech, music, theater, therapy that helped me overcome a lot of my obstacles. There's someone that you may hear about in your classrooms in the future. Her name is Dr. Temple Grandin, and she has a great quote where she says that interests and talents can turn into careers. And that's actually why I'm speaking to all of you today, because growing up with autism, I was able to have a laser-focused key interest on 2 specific interests. One was I wanted to grow up to become the next Kobe Bryant. So I'm a big Laker fan, and growing up, I could tell you all 30 NBA teams and every single player on those teams. So I grew up in New Jersey, and because of that laser-focused key interest, I was able to get an undergraduate degree at Seton Hall University in sport management, where I got to work with CBS Sports on the Super Bowl, the March Madness tournament, before deciding to change career paths to focus on supporting and educating people more about people with disabilities. My second key interest was to grow up to become the 6th member of the Backstreet Boys. So I wanted the white suit from you guys remember the I Want It That Way video? So growing up, there was always something soothing about music, because growing up, I would wear noise-canceling headphones in most of my classes because loud noises would bother my ears. And I would also wear sunglasses in most of my classrooms because bright lights would bother me, because some people with autism have this thing called sensory challenges. I took my love of theater to find a full-time career of public speaking and gained my certification in public speaking over 14 years ago so I could travel to speak with groups like Google, American Express, but also get the opportunity to speak with you guys about the importance of being kind to others. During that time, I've written 7 Amazon best-selling books based on my journey growing up with autism, but also gained the opportunity to work with our entertainment industry to bring a positive portrayal of autism and other disabilities. Any Harry Potter fans in the room? Show of hands. So my first movie I ever got the opportunity to work on was this movie called Joyful Noise from the group in Warner Brothers, because one of the characters in this film had an autism diagnosis. So they actually flew me out to Hollywood to get the opportunity to work on this film to make sure it's realistic as possible towards those with autism. And to this day, I've gotten the opportunity to work with some really cool groups like HBO, and then also most recently gained the opportunity to be a paid consultant on this show called Love on the Spectrum, where we've gotten the opportunity to highlight and also educate people about those with autism. When our 3rd season came out on April 2nd this year for World Autism Awareness Day, we were in the top 10 shows on Netflix for 3 consecutive weeks, and we currently have season 4 coming out hopefully next year. But guys, if I leave you with anything today, it's that you realize this: some of the people that you may look up to most in this world are not only huge autism advocates, but they're also big anti-bullying advocates as well. Individuals like Tommy Hilfiger. Now, Tommy Hilfiger was bullied mercifully when he was a kid because all he wanted to do was talk about fashion. While the other boys were playing sports, Tommy became a one of the hugest fashion designers in the world, but later on would have a son who was diagnosed with autism. And his son would have a really hard time in school because he had this thing called sensory challenges, where Tommy would have to cut out all the tags in his son's shirts because of the feel of that tag on his skin. Tommy Hilfiger, to support the autism community, started a sensory-friendly clothing line, knowing the impact that it could have on people with autism and other disabilities. Other individuals like Anna Kendrick from the Pitch Perfect series. Anna Kendrick used to be bullied growing up because she was the shortest girl in her class. And one of the first things that me and Anna talked about when I got to meet her was the importance of kindness, because a lot of people considered her different when she was young, similar to myself. Temple Crandon has a great quote where she says that people who have differences are different and not less. And now Anna Kendrick has used her philanthropy to support people in the disability community, which is really cool. Other individuals like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift realized that several of her biggest fans are on the autism spectrum. In this photo right here, she's with one of my mentees, Jacob Velasquez, who himself is on the autism spectrum and fell in love with Taylor Swift songs. He was able to memorize and recite every single one of her songs from her album 1989 on his piano. It went viral, and we got the opportunity for them to meet. After meeting Jacob and more people in the autism community, Taylor gave $30,000 of her own money to provide a service dog for an autistic boy who needed a little bit more help when he was in school. And then later on, $50,000 of her own money to provide iPads for autistic people who don't communicate like you and me. Autism being a social and communication disorder, some people that you might have in your classrooms in the future might use text-to-speech devices to communicate, where they might text into an iPad or another device to help them communicate with you guys. Other individuals like Luke Bryan, who has a family member who's on the autism spectrum. And then my favorite on this list, because I've watched this movie 20 times over, Kevin Hart. Now, Kevin Hart grew up being bullied because he was one of the shortest boys in his school. Now, Kevin Hart has actually used the fact that he is short to take away the power from bullies by using it in a lot of his sitcoms and stand-ups. Being able to talk about the fact that he's short and taking away the power from a bully when people would call him short. Later on, in 2016, he came out with a movie called Central Intelligence with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where one of the themes of that movie is about the importance of being kind. But guys, if I leave you with anything today, it's that you also realize this. Some people with disabilities are truly capable of amazing things. Like six-time NBA champion from the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, was diagnosed with a learning disability called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder at a very early age. And he would actually, his parents used basketball as a reward system to make sure that he was succeeding academically. Not only do 1 in 36 people in the U.S. have autism, but 1 in 5 people in the U.S. have some form of disability, ADHD, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy. So it's important to understand this, though. There's this whole concept in our community called neurodiversity, where some people with disabilities consider their disability an integral part of who they are. And without their disability, they would not be as successful as they are today. Individuals like the ones on this list, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Leonardo DiCaprio was diagnosed with this thing called dyslexia, where it's a reading comprehension disorder, and he would actually get bullied in school because he couldn't pronounce things as fast as other of his classmates. His parents used reading movie scripts with him, though, to help him with his reading comprehension because that was his laser-focused key interest, and then obviously he became an Academy Award-winning actor. And then my favorite on this list, Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd grew up with 2 laser-focused key interests, similar to myself, but his 2 key interests were, 1, becoming a crime detective, which I don't know about you guys, seems pretty awesome, and secondly, becoming a ghost hunter. And he took those 2 extreme key interests to co-write a script in the 1980s with Bill Murray called Ghostbusters. Very smart group. But years later, he would sit down with a news reporter and he would say that it was because of his autism diagnosis, he was able to come up with that script. So realize this, guys. If you've met one person with a disability, you've met just that one person with a disability. It is a spectrum. Some individuals with disabilities will need 24/7 care for their entire lives, might not be able to find a job one day, but some individuals in our community are truly capable of amazing things. So if you meet someone with a disability in the future, remember this: presume competence. Treat them like you would treat anyone else. Just understanding that sometimes they have hardships that sometimes are hard to understand. Because, guys, one of the leading epidemics we currently have in schools today is this thing called bullying. Now, bullying is simply this: it's an imbalance of power. Someone wanting to get power over you. And when we think about bullying in that way, it's such a more concrete thing to understand. So the way that I had bullying stop for me completely was I made varsity captain of my high school basketball team. And one day, one of the biggest bullies in school came up to me and he said, "Kerry, you have autism? You are so stupid." And I was like, "What? Why are you?" I was really, really mad. I wanted to yell at him. I wanted to scream at him. But I took 10 to 15 seconds and I thought to myself, why would someone say something like this to me? And instead of getting upset, instead of yelling, instead of giving him the power over me, that whole imbalance of power that I just talked about, I took 10 to 15 seconds and I said, "Hey man, because of my autism, I sometimes do stupid things. And I'm never going to stop trying to be your friend if you need a friend." And I never heard from that kid again. He just walked away because I didn't give him the power. And I'm not saying that's easy, guys, but when we think about bullying in that way, it's such a more concrete thing to understand. But realize this: people with mental health challenges and people with disabilities are twice as likely to be bullied in school compared to people without disabilities or mental health challenges. So individuals like Simone Biles, a gold medalist in the Olympics, Selena Gomez, a popular singer and actress, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, and then also Billie Eilish. These public figures have spoken openly about their experiences with bullying and mental health. Simone Biles in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics spoke up about stress and anxiety even at the Olympics to protect her health. And growing up was one of the shortest girls in her classes, similar to Anna Kendrick, leading to a lot of bullying. Selena Gomez took breaks from social media because of cyberbullying and talks openly and honestly about anxiety, depression, and getting help. Guys, your feelings are valid. So anytime you ever feel any feeling that's a little tough sometimes, talk to a teacher about it. Talk to someone about it because your feelings are truly, truly valid in this world. Tom Holland was teased for doing ballet as a kid. So Tom Holland was one of the only boys in his school who did ballet. But that led him to getting a Broadway role, which ultimately ended up being seen by the producers of a small movie called The Avengers, which actually led to him getting the opportunity to play Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Millie Bobby Brown also faced online cruelty via cyberbullying and encourages kindness and setting healthy screen boundaries. And Billie Eilish shares about depression and body image and also avoiding hurtful comments and focusing on support. And honestly, guys, bullying isn't okay. Being an upstander, including reporting and supporting, can make a world of difference. Now, one topic that I see really, really impacting a lot of kids with autism in school today is this thing called stimming. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of this concept called stimming, but every single one of you guys in this room have been stimming during this entire presentation. If you moved your feet back and forth or if you rocked back and forth while you're sitting down, that's a stim. And growing up, I would be bullied because I would do this thing called flapping, where I would flap my arms around when I felt a little overwhelmed in class because that helped me feel comfortable when I was in school. And kids would bully me and they would say, "Kerry, are you on drugs, man? What are you doing?" It wasn't that I was on drugs. It was simply me trying to self-regulate in a way that helped me feel comfortable. And that's something that all of us do in this room. So guys, when I was growing up, no one talked about this topic of bullying. But now during October, for example, we have this thing called National Bullying Prevention Month, where we make people understand that it's not enough just not to be a bully. But if you see a lonely kid in your lunchroom who's being picked on, being an ally can make a world of difference, because I've met so many incredible individuals like Heather. Heather is a young woman who is diagnosed with autism, and this is what she wanted the world to know about her story.
I was told all kinds of things. I was told that I was not trying hard enough. I was told that I was lazy. I was told that I was stupid. I was told that I was slow. And I know now that none of that was true. I just recently graduated college with all honors and magna cum laude.
Can you tell me a little bit about the shirt you're wearing? Because it's really cool.
Yes, it says autistic. Ask a question, get an honest answer. A very honest answer, because I just speak what I feel, and that's that. I ride horses competitively. I have a horse right now. She's on full leash. Her name is Silverbell, and I do theater. I do acting, singing, and dancing, and I love to play sports too. I'm active in Special Olympics. A lot of my challenges were because I was not diagnosed and we did not know what was wrong, and I was bullied a lot, and I continue to be bullied sometimes.
How does that make you feel when bullies actually go about doing that? Because I used to be bullied too.
It's really difficult because for me, in my case, my bully had been an authority figure. So, if a person is a leader, it leads other people beneath them to continue bullying. So it is very complicated, and it's really upsetting. Like,
Understandable.
I just wish people understood. Like, people don't understand that. Like, they give. Because, like, with autism, when you can't always say, you can't always describe your intentions or, like, emotions that well, people tend to label them for you and it's not accurate.
Is there anything else that you would like for people at home to know about you and your story?
If you've a person with autism in your class or your workplace, please take them under your wing and befriend them, because that's what they need most, is a friend, like a real friend, a best friend. And I was lucky enough to find that, and I have some of the best friends in the world that anybody could ask for, but for a long time I didn't have that, and it's really, really hard. And if you know somebody with autism, I'd really, really, really encourage you to take them under your wing, befriend them. They like some of the same activities that you might like. A lot of them can talk to you and hold conversations just like me and you.
Yeah, exactly.
So be their friends and open up and encourage them, invite them to your parties and make them a part of your social group.
Yeah, so Heather's story is really powerful because especially she wanted to talk about girl autism, because guys, a lot of the times the popular image around autism and disability is around white males, but so many girls in our community today have disabilities and are underrepresented in our community. But I love when she said autism, ask an honest question, get an honest answer, very honest answer, because I would be bullied growing up because I wouldn't understand sarcasm. And that's something that Heather dealt with challenges with. Sometimes people with autism, like myself, deal with challenges with being able to understand different levels of tone when someone is being, oh yeah, like I had a bowl cut when I was growing up. So everyone would be like, Kerry, I love your haircut. And I would be like, well, thanks, I appreciate that. Not understanding the whole concept of sarcasm. So being able to understand, guys, that your words truly have power to make effective change. And also realize this, some individuals bully outside of schools as well. So being kind to others can make a huge difference, because you don't know what some of your classmates may be going through at home, especially in terms of adults who are sometimes bullies as well. And guys, bullying is one of the biggest challenges in our schools today. Those with autism are more often bullied compared to any other disability. And a child is bullied in school every 7 minutes. And most bullying is unreported because it's done while the teachers and adults are not watching. The two most common places where bullying happens today in our schools are 1, in the lunchrooms, and 2, in the hallways. Because there's a lot of foot traffic. There's a lot of you guys, and sometimes the teachers cannot see every situation all at once. Also realizing that bullying does have lasting challenges. I was recently talking to a superintendent that said bullying is a rite of passage. And I was like, I looked at him like he had 6 heads, because bullying is no rite of passage that any single one of you guys in this room should have to deal with, because bullying does have lasting challenges. For example, 1 in 10 students drop out of school because of repeated bullying today. And also realizing this, guys, when we talk about disability, not all disabilities are visible. I was speaking with American Express not too long ago, and one of the employees raised their hand at the end of the presentation and said to me, "Kerry, you have autism, but you don't look like you have autism." And I told him I parted my hair the other way today so you couldn't see the autism. Because, guys, what's autism supposed to look like? Frankly, what are a lot of these disabilities supposed to look like? So many people in our disability world, the ADHD, autism world, sometimes have these invisible disabilities where you might not see a hardship on the surface, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't go through challenges in their lives. So being kind to all of your classmates, understanding that some individuals go through lasting challenges. So in addition to that, there's some great ways to be an ally, guys. We talked about pursuing competence already, and I have a great story about this topic. I was in Hollywood in 2011 at the wrap party after we just finished filming this movie called Joyful Noise. And I was talking to one of the actors about who's the greatest basketball player of all time. I said Michael Jordan. He said LeBron James. And we went back and forth for like 20, 25 minutes about it. And I was like so tired at the end of the night. I went to the bathroom and I came back just like a few minutes later, and the guy started talking to me slower like this. He's like, "Kerry, it was so nice to meet you tonight. I hope you get home safe." And I'm like, "Dude, why are you talking to me like I'm 3 years old? We were just having a really nice conversation." And it was because one of the other actors said that I was on the autism spectrum. And then he started treating me as a label instead of treating me as Kerry. Whenever you meet somebody and know that they may have a disability, don't go in with any perceived notions. Always presume competence and treat people with acceptance and understanding. And when you're unsure about something, ask questions, because it can make a world of difference for some individuals in our schools. So, and also understanding this, when it comes to mental health, feelings are signals, not problems. Everyone has big feelings, regardless if it's happy, nervous, angry, or sad. And feelings are, I like to say, often like traffic lights. Green, where you might be, I'm okay. Yellow, I need a pause. And red, meaning I need help. And it's okay to ask for support. When I was growing up, it was always dominantly where boys were not ever able to share about their feelings because it was a social norm. If anyone has ever heard of this thing called social norms, understanding that your feelings are truly valid in this world. And when we continue these conversations, one of the ways that you can actually think about this is naming how you're feeling during a certain day. For example, you may say, "I'm feeling sad because of a bullying situation that happened." Being able to name the situation and actually talking to someone about it can really be helpful. Understanding that other conversations around self-talk, even to yourself, even if you don't feel comfortable sharing it with other people, saying this feeling will pass. And I could do this one small step towards making a big, big impact. And also understanding this, guys, if you see a bullying situation happening in your classrooms, it might not be bullying. For example, one of the kids I was talking to recently in a second grade classroom about bullying was talking to me and one of his other classmates about who is his favorite Los Angeles Laker of all time. And one of the kids said Kobe, and the other kid said Magic Johnson. So the kid comes up to me after the speaking event and says, "This kid was bullying me during the entire presentation because he did not like the same basketball player that I did." And I was thinking to myself, That's not bullying. That's this thing called conflict, guys. It's really important to understand. Bullying is repeated behavior. It's power imbalance. And it's intent to harm. While conflict can typically be resolved. It can be occasional disagreements. It's equal power, and it's no intent to hurt. People want different things. So if you're not sure, ask, is this happening again and again? Do they have more power? Is it meant to hurt? Because those are the ways of understanding the differences. So when we talk about this more and more, guys, understand this. If someone is targeted, don't ignore it, because some people like me, when I was growing up and couldn't communicate and advocate for myself, we needed that support. Remember when I was talking about the whole activity about taking away the power away from the bully? Some individuals with disabilities can't do that. Name it. Say that's not okay. Include, invite them to sit, join, play. Small actions truly matter. Report. Tell a trusted adult, counselor, coach. Reporting is helping. It's not tattling. Also with cyberbullying, if you see someone online saying some hurtful things, take a screenshot. Make sure that you're sharing it with a teacher, because it can make a world of difference for people in our community, because there are individuals who are going through lasting challenges in our community, and we need to support them. So guys, I never expected this to be my life. If you told me I was going to be speaking around the globe 120, 125 times a year, I would have thought you were nuts. But I like to say that autism can't define me, and I define autism. And I can only hope that every single one of you in this room, regardless of any time you were ever told that you couldn't do something in your life, that you go out there and you define your lives and your journeys in the way that you best see it every single day. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. Thank you, guys. And I would love to answer any questions that you guys have at this time. Yes.
What were your first words when you learned to speak?
Some of my first words were literally just the most random words in the world. I said juice was my first word when I was 3. I started saying Michael Jordan a few months later. So those were actually, ironically enough, 2 of 3 of my first words I ever said. Yeah, when I was about 3. And we have a question right here.
I'm wondering what part you're in.
How old's your sister?
She just turned 13 this summer.
Oh, nice. And thank her for watching the show. So I am a consultant on Love on the Spectrum. So what I get the opportunity to do is I get the opportunity to educate everyone behind the scenes on what autism is, because a lot of them don't have a connection to the autism community. So I educate them on what to expect on set, especially with cast members who are on the autism spectrum. And then I edit every single episode and give notes to the director to tell him what my thoughts are on episodes, to educate him on like if something we shouldn't include in one of the episodes because it makes someone feel overwhelmed. So I give those notes to the director as a way of helping support the show. And I've been doing that since 2021. It's been an awesome opportunity. Let's see, how about we do a few questions over here. We'll do in the white hoodie, and just give him a second to, the white hoodie right here, yes.
Have you ever gotten like bullied as an adult, or was it just when you were a kid?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually have been bullied as an adult sometimes, and guys, that's really tough. School age bullying can be really, really challenging, but so many adults are huge bullies today. If you go on social media, you may see celebrities or some government officials being some of the biggest bullies we know. So being able to understand that it's not only a school age thing, but when I learned about the whole concept of imbalance of power and how to take away the power from a bully, most of that stopped completely, but sometimes adults are still bullying me today, and I just have to remind myself about that whole imbalance of power. How about we do a Stitch shirt right here?
What was your favorite movie that you've ever done?
What was my favorite movie I've ever done? God, I love this. So I worked on this indie film called Jane Wants a Boyfriend, which was about this autistic girl who was trying to find meaningful connection, and she was like 25 years old and just wanted someone regardless of a relationship, just wanted a friend. And I felt that really powerful, especially because we don't hear a lot about girl autism in movies today. We'll take one more question, and then guys, if you have any follow-up questions, tell your teachers, and then we'll make sure that they get my email address so we could stay in touch. How about we do blue hoodie right here?
How young were you when you found your love of acting?
One more time, sorry.
How young were you when you found your love of acting?
Oh, yes. I was literally like 7, 8 years old. I literally could I memorized every single song from the movie Lion King. And like literally, I grew up wanting to be a lion. I was just like that random kid who was just like, I'm going to be a lion when I grow up. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be a lion and I need some more goals for myself. So long story short, I started falling in love with Disney movies. Which ultimately led to me wanting to do something in acting. I realized that there are a lot of people auditioning, especially children actors, and that kind of just inspired me. I performed in over 20 plays in my life, and I've auditioned for movies with Emma Stone and a bunch of Mark Wahlberg and a bunch of other movies. I haven't landed any opportunity yet, but I'm really excited about getting the opportunity to continue that work today in the future. Thank you guys so much. You've been an incredible audience.
Thanks, everybody. You've been a great audience. Let's just pay attention to your teachers, and your teachers will help you on your way out. Thanks.